Hear from Dan Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Schweitzer. Good morning, Senator Murray, Eby, members of the press. My name is Dan Tucker, Executive Director of the Whatcom Working Waterfront Coalition. We're based in Bellingham, Washington. We're a nonpartisan representative of maritime industries here in the region, and this issue of cross-border trade and policy is indeed nonpartisan. And we have several industries that are feeling the impacts of uncertainty and added costs. We've been hearing from our membership across all sectors. I'll highlight a few here, and some of them are joining us on the call today for questions and answers afterwards. Several maritime companies here in the region are facing major cost increases due to tariffs and cross-border trade restrictions, particularly between the US and Canada. Corvus Energy, for example, operates on both sides of the border, and they suffer a nearly 50% tariff when sending US assembled battery systems to Canada for testing. Due to the Chinese components in them, they are disqualified from USMCA protections. Steel and aluminum tariffs add an additional 25% on top of that. Plant manager in Bellingham, Kirk Dessler's on the call with us today. He can answer some questions on those. Similarly, we have Drayton Harbor Oyster Company in Blaine, right on our border, and other oyster farming operations in the region who rely on Canadian markets for oyster farming equipment sourced from New Zealand through Canadian suppliers. There are no U.S. alternatives. These tariffs translate directly to higher costs for them. The blanket tariffs also threaten independent fishermen and tribal fishermen who rely on Canadian bait, deck gear, and supplies throughout their seasons. Drayton Harbor Oyster has seen almost $100,000 drop in revenue over their last year due to the increase in equipment costs, but also due to the lower cross-border tourism. I highly recommend visiting their restaurant, and owner Steve Seymour has offered his contact information. If anyone would like to follow up, please email me later if you'd like it. The unpredictability of tariffs, even the threat of them, is causing volatility in market pricing. All American marine and aluminum boat manufacturer here in the region has seen copper pricing spike solely due to tariff speculation. Just the threat of tariffs has destabilized their supply pricing, making it difficult to budget and making it impossible for them to forecast shipping costs and other planning. Musted Autoline, who makes longline fishing equipment, also notes the same thing. Unstable tariff landscape makes it impossible to forecast. They can't give customers accurate estimates. Uncertainty is one of the most common and disruptive themes. Seafood Producers Co-op, operating for 75 years here as a fisherman's cooperative. We have Kendall Whitney, sales manager, on the call with us today who can answer more questions about them, was forced into panic buying packaging materials ahead of the tariffs with no U.S. alternatives, tying up capital and incurring unnecessary storage and interest costs. They also report canceled or altered orders from major markets like China and the EU, making long-term planning unreliable. CEO Matt Harden of Northwest Diesel Power, an engine supplier and marine service company who's on the call today, also echoes this challenge. Inflation, uncertainty, and supply chain delays have stifled investment and consumer confidence. They estimate what could be up to a 70% drop in new boat sales, depending on how these tariffs evolve, and stress that U.S. production isn't a viable alternative. It could take up to a decade or more to have U.S. companies invest and build to the point of supplying the volume and being competitive enough to meet the industry needs. The Seafood Producers Co-op has also highlighted that we hold long-standing U.S.-Canada agreements on albacore tuna, which allow Canadian processors to buy U.S. fish. Fish do not know borders. And in shared waters, treaties like this and others, like the Pacific Salmon Treaty being negotiated right now, require goodwill and good relations between nations and industry partners. It is vital that we keep those relations to sustain both nations' fisheries and maritime economies. Across the board, companies warn that U.S. seafood and maritime products are becoming less competitive internationally. Tariff-driven price increases ripple through the supply chain, reducing ex-vessel value for fishermen and hurting GDP contributions across all sectors. We've heard anecdotes that some companies have even had to pull U.S.-made labels off their products overseas for negative reception. In short, maritime businesses, from advanced energy and vessel manufacturing to fishing and aquaculture, are being squeezed by a combination of tariffs, inflation, and uncertainty. Without policy stability and trade agreements that reflect the integrated nature of this industry, both domestic growth and global competitiveness are at serious risk. It is vital when we live in such close proximity that we have good relations with our neighbors, that we have good trade policies with them, and that we help bolster both of our nation's industries together. Thank you.